What's up, guys? My LEGO Slave 1 model, which I featured in a previous 3D printing video, is finally for sale. That took a while. I've been busy, but it's finally here. And the purpose of this video is to show you guys how you can print it and assemble it on your own if you choose to buy the file. The file is available in the description. My Slave 1 model consists of two main parts, the upper half and lower half. So this is straightforward to 3D print. You don't have to add any supports. I've already done that. Just 3D print this. Once the model is 3D printed, you're going to want to remove some of the supports I added. One of the supports I added, or in fact, they all look like this. They're all these thin little rods, and on this part of the model, they're all located on these sides of the Slave 1 model. Yep, and they're on this side as well. So once your Slave 1 is done printing, you can just use an X-Acto knife or a pencil and just snap these off. They are very easy to remove. Here is the upper half of the Slave 1 model. This one has a lot more supports that you're going to need to remove. First of all these rods here. All of them you're going to need to snap off, and again, snapping them off the model once it's done 3D printing is not very difficult to do. Also notice that you got a few inside here that you also want to remove. So just snap off all the rods, shouldn't be too difficult. There's a ton of scattered parts here. They all have their place. These are the engines. These are the wings for Slave 1. These are the turrets that go on the side, and this piece I'll show you in the next part of the video. Also, something about the cannons is, though they look cool, unfortunately because you'll be 3D printing with PLA plastic, these cannons I found break very easily. So what you want to do is once you're done 3D printing these little supports, which are really used for the cannons, this little tile piece and this little tile piece, you can actually take it off and you can glue it aside around the middle where my mouse is. You can just glue it against these two cannon pieces to give it some additional support. This is what the printed version of Slave 1 looks like after everything's been assembled. So I took the wing and I took the rod at the end of the wing and I put it inside of this part. Now, if it doesn't fit, you'll have to sand down the rod a little bit. I've modified this part to make it as easy as possible, but the rod might still need to be sanded down so that it fits in this side of the Slave 1. Now let me lift it so you can see where all the engine pieces go, all those little dots you saw on the bottom. You can pause the video and take a look. That is the correct configuration for all the engine pieces. You'll notice that your print, the upper half, came with these 10 stud long rods. The purpose of these rods is to support this wing, because by itself, this wing with just the rod inside the model, it was very loose. So you have two rods that are 1 by 10 studs long that came with the model. What you need to do is print or glue one end to the wing and the other end to the ship. You're going to do that for both sides, and this is going to provide significantly more stability for this wing. As for the note I made earlier, this is what I'm talking about. These guns break very easily, but you can use the little tile pieces as a support if you glue it around the middle. Lastly, you'll find some parts that you might not know where they go. One of them is, actually two of them, are these pieces here, which I chose not to glue on the Slave 1. This is for the opening panel for this little compartment that goes in the Slave 1 set. And I really didn't have to glue these. Friction should be all you need to be able to put both pieces in place here. Same thing applies for this upper half. You'll notice that there is a compartment that is opened. Here's the compartment. This piece was not actually attached to it. This half is stuck, you cannot move it, but I made it to where you can open this side of the compartment. So this piece is separable. I don't worry too much about getting these bumps in these grooves. Really, if you just stick the panel here, friction is enough to hold it in place. If you have any further questions on how to print this model, let me know in the comment section. Before I forget, let's also talk about the glass piece, which I've Sharpied very horribly. So in my experience, this glass piece does not snap on and stay there, unfortunately. That is just the nature of 3D printing Legos. So really, I just sanded down some of these studs here to provide a slightly better grip, but don't expect it to fully snap and stay in place. If you can just keep it from wiggling around, that's good enough for the connection.